Here I have the Légère signature and the Légère French cut, and today we're going to be comparing the two on alto saxophone and seeing if we can find some differences. I've been bouncing back and forth between these two for the past year or so, and hopefully today I can figure out which one I like more. I'm going to walk you through how they compare on the horn and break down where they feel different. So let's first see what Légère says the differences are between the two. I also do want to preface, these are both strength 4 reeds for alto saxophone. Starting with the signature series, if you look on the back, Légère says, the signature reed for saxophone is bright yet focused. Both jazz and classical players will enjoy the effortless articulation and precise tonal control. Players looking for a warmer timbre should try the American cut. They also have 3 different bars here displaying a scale of bright to dark, projection, and response. The signature reed lays right down the middle in bright to dark. Projection is almost all the way, it's that second bar, and then response is even a little farther. So very responsive and lots of projection, it says. I find it interesting that it says players looking for a warmer timbre should try the American cut, because I think the American cut is advertised to more jazz players. Now let's look at the French cut. Légère says, the French cut for saxophone is a dark, vibrant, symphonic reed. It couples an immediate response with the centered tone of a top-grade classical saxophone reed. The reed is ideal for all players of all skill levels. It seems to be targeted to more classical saxophonists, so maybe this is a better reed for me. And then it also uses the word dark, which the signature reed doesn't. It says bright yet focused on the signature. If we look at the bars on the back, the French cut is much farther over towards the dark side than the signature. It has the exact same amount of projection, and then response, it has even a little bit more response. Again, both of these are strength 4, and hopefully today we can figure out if what they're saying is actually true. The other thing I did want to show you is the reed strength comparison chart, so let's take a look at that. So if we look here, we've got the signature on the second row and the French cut just below that. The signature series actually shows that it's going to be stronger and more resistant than the French cut, so we're going to have to test that out and see. The other thing that I should mention is that today we will be playing on the Selmer S90 180 with the gold-plated Ishimori ligature on a Yamaha V1 neck with a Yamaha Custom EX. The reason I say this is because these reeds are going to feel very different mouthpiece to mouthpiece. They could feel very resistant on this S90 180, but very thin on like a Selmer concept. So let's open this up and see what's inside. I will say I do use these reeds quite often. Like I said, I have been going back and forth for the last year or so, and I really haven't decided. I found it really just depends on the variability out of the box. For example, when I ordered 2 French cut 4s out of the box, they don't feel the same strength. All right, here's the French cut. Let's open it up, and we're gonna see what physical differences we can see between the two. I always recommend opening these boxes from the bottom. It just makes it way easier than trying to get all this open from the top. So here's the French cut. As you can see, I think this is called the shoulder of the reed. Just below the heart, the shoulder here, has an extra little indent in the bottom here, which varies much differently than the signature. And that's about the only visible difference I see. Both are stamped on the top, and you can see all the little fiber lines in the Légère. Let's see if that looks the exact same on the signature. I always recommend shining this up against the light and seeing if there's any infractions or anything. This one looks all right. I have had reeds in the past that have a little chip in them, which, ugh. Luckily, Légère has a policy online where you can return and exchange them for completely free. You don't even have to return the reed that you got. So yeah, this one, the shoulder of the reed, I think that's the right reed anatomy, is completely rounded without that extra little dip in it. Very interesting difference. So that's these two. Let's get on to the playtest. Really quick before we get into the playtest, here are some things you should be listening for. Response, articulation, airiness, and tone in the palm key range. I will preface by saying there will probably be a bigger difference in the feel of the reeds versus the actual sound and what you're hearing, and that is why after the playtest I will go through and give you my thoughts on the difference in feel and what I heard. Alright, so I just finished the playtest, and before I tell you which reed was what, I want you to go ahead and comment down below which reed you thought was reed A and which reed you thought was reed B. So reed A is going to be the French cut, and I actually really liked how it felt right out of the box. The biggest takeaways for this one is the clarity on articulation, the nice tone that I got, especially in the middle register, and then obviously the flexibility in altissimo. Reed B was the signature, and it definitely had a little bit more resistance than that French cut. I did find that it had a little bit more projection than the French cut, but that came with a little bit of extra effort. I don't know if it came across in the recording, but I also found that the signature had a little bit more airiness to it, which I think came with that resistance. There were sides of the signature that I really liked, but there were also sides of the French cut that I really liked. And overall, there were some big differences. At the beginning of the video, we looked at that reed strength comparison chart, and I will say that these are pretty much on par with what they said. The Signature 4 is just a little bit more resistant than the French 4, which is also what I found in my own testing over the last year or so. Due to the extra airiness of this specific Signature 4 and that causing some articulation clarity issues, I will probably be siding with this French cut for this upcoming semester. However, I will give you a little bit of a disclaimer with Légère reeds. Out of the box, two of the exact same cut and the exact same strength can vary differently in resistance. So this is a very small sample size comparing two different cuts of the same strength. So keep that in mind when you go and buy Légères yourself. Let me know which reed you liked more down below, and don't forget to subscribe if you aren't already. I hope you enjoyed the comparison that we did here today. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.